What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPapa, and here we are continuing from the last video where we talked about all of these XY era Mega Evolution cards and how their prices have gone absolutely batty. It is fascinating to see how these cards have appreciated really since February of this year. And one of the reasons that has happened, actually the main reason that has happened, is because there was an announcement on February 27th. There was an announcement that came out, talked about the very next game, Pokemon Legends Z to A, and the big thing, the reason why we're seeing the movement in these card prices is because they announced that it is going to be a return of Mega Evolutions. And while there is no guarantee at all that things that happen in the game will transpire in the card space, there is a high level of precedence. And I think all of us can rest assured that we're going to see some type of Mega Evolution variant here in the Scarlet and Violet space sometime in the future. So what happened? In our last video, we looked at all of these cards that had absolutely taken off like crazy because of that. We've seen all those Charizard cards and all of these other different variants with the Mega Evolution tied to them from the XY era in the way that they'd appreciated in price. But you know, on this channel, we try and do things a little bit differently, right? We hunt for value. We're looking for things that maybe the market hasn't realized yet, has the upside, because I always say buy what will go up, not what has gone up. Don't get caught up in FOMO. So the point of this video now is to circle back and say, hey, listen, are there any of these awesome Pokemon cards from the XY era that's got a Mega Evolution tied to them that maybe haven't reached full potential yet, that we think have some upside, that we think if the Mega Evolution cards end up being a big part of Scarlet and Violet, like obviously the end of eras typically was where they bring a whole lot of heat and a whole lot of fire, and that's what we're looking at. That's the timeline here. So if Mega Evolutions in Scarlet and Violet play a big role, do we think that some of that's going to bleed through into these XY era cards that we're going to talk about today? I know I certainly do. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. But I do think that if we see them getting hot in Scarlet and Violet, then I think that they'll come through into this XY space as well. And I will tell you this, I have felt that XY has been overlooked and undervalued for years. I mean, honestly, ever since I started creating content on this channel, I've been saying that I think the XY era is way undervalued. There's some amazing art, some amazing Pokemon in there, and the cards have been relatively cheap compared to Sun and Moon and compared to a lot of Sword and Shield cards. So could XY finally be getting its time in the sun? Could this be the time for XY to kind of flourish and take off? I don't know, but we're going to look at some cards right now that I think have a whole lot of opportunity to do just that. With that being said, I always got to do my selfish plug here, and I got to say, if you enjoy this type of data-driven content, we do this stuff all the time, so hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below, and if you enjoy this video, give us a big old thumbs up. Those three small things go a long way in helping my small channel out. I appreciate it more than I can say. So with that out of the way, let's talk about some of these cards that I think have some room to run, and I have to start off with this Mega Gengar EX from Phantom Forces, and there are so many reasons why I love this card. First and foremost, you know, I'm a big Gengar fan, so let's take that personal bias out of there, but I love Phantom Forces. When you think about the XY era as a whole, you have Flash Fire, you have Phantom Forces. Those are kind of like the big two regular sets from the whole era. So check that box that this card comes from a monster set. And then in the Phantom Forces set, Gengar is heavily featured, right? Gengar is one of the biggest and the baddest in the entire Phantom Forces set. So of course, that checks another box right here. I do love when they have these secret rares. I think that adds just another level of mystique to it. So I love that it checks that box as well. And then of course, when you look at the pricing, this was all the way up at $62 earlier in the year, and guess what? Now it's at $50. So the fact that it's one of the most featured Pokemon from one of the biggest and baddest sets, the fact that it's below a one-year high, the fact that it's a secret rare card, all of that checks every box that I could possibly want when I'm trying to identify some opportunities. And again, if you saw the way that some of these cards have performed in the previous video, you know that some of these cards have absolutely gone crazy. And if there is a big, I don't know, maybe a Mega Evolution Gengar later on in Scarlet and Violet, I really think that cards like this will have the opportunity to pop off in price. I think it's going to bleed through, no doubt. So I wanted to lead off with this one because really, when you think about it, this checks every single box I could possibly want. Next one right here, Charizard. I love the fact that this is from a Generations set. Now, Generations and Celebrations, you can't compare the two. Generations, way lower print run, like way more rarity to it at this point. Celebrations was kind of printed into the ground. So a lot of times I think the more modern collectors kind of have these anniversary sets and they don't necessarily hold them with the amount of, I don't know, love that we properly should. But Generations was absolutely fire. The set was amazing. The artwork was amazing. And this M Charizard is no exception to the rule, right? Another card that is is below a 1-year high. It was all the way up at $64 and now it's at $58. So not a big drop, but still when we looked at some of those cards from the last video, I mean, most of them were way multiples above their previous 1-year high. So the fact that this is below it, the fact that it comes from generations, the fact that this is a Charizard on it and it's got the Mega Evolutions, all of those give me a whole lot of excitement. The other thing that I think is really cool about this is the last card, and a bunch of them we'll look at, are already on the pathway up. Now this one did pop in February, but then it flattened out pretty quickly. So you see here over the last couple months, this card has been holding steady at $58. So I love it when we see a certain level of support like this. And if there's like some kind of big Mega Evolution Charizard which comes out towards the end of Scarlet and Violet, I think that excitement, I think that collectability, I think it'll bleed through into other cards, and I think this one will be sitting here with open arms saying, just give me all the love that you possibly can, and we could see some awesome growth here. So I love this card, love everything about it, excited to have it on the list. Now, next one right here, I know it's another Gengar, but I don't care. I love Gengar, and this one is another one that checks a lot of boxes. I love promo cards. I know a lot of you love promo cards. You tell me in the comments down below. This is a promo card, right? We know that the chances of getting a promo card in really high condition are low because for whatever reason, they like to do those plastic molds and shove the cards in there. So you got chipping, you got corner issues, all kinds of problems. So finding this in a gem mint or certainly a mint copy is not easy to do. Now, the thing I like about this as well is it is well below a 1-year high, right? A 1-year high was up at $45 and it's sitting at $40 right now. It was working its way down most of the year. I mean, really up until about a month ago, this card was downward and to the right. But then probably what happened is there were people out there like me who are thinking, hey, listen, Megas have been announced. You know, if Megas are going to end up playing a part in Scarlet and Violet moving forward, I want the opportunity to buy some of these older Megas at breakneck prices, which is what they were. So we've seen a spike. It could have been a buyout, could have been one person who wanted to buy all of them, or it could have just been the market snagging them. So we're going to have to give this some more time to see if it comes back down. But no matter what, I do love the fact that it's a promo. I love the fact it's got Gengar on it. I love the fact that it's got that Mega Evolution tied into it. And I do think we have not seen a big Gengar card yet in the Scarlet and Violet era. I don't know when it's going to come. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm very excited. If it's got a Mega Evolution tied to it, I think that could be really interesting and see how all these other cards perform if that is how it ends up shaping out. Now, next card right here, this Mewtwo EX from Breakthrough. Now, this isn't the biggest and the baddest Mewtwo in the set by any means, but I do like the artwork. I like it a lot, and I like the fact that there was a point earlier in this year where it held pretty steady at $36, $37, and then it worked its way down. We've seen that pattern a lot throughout the last couple videos when we've been looking at XY, and then, of course, it did what we've seen. Another part of the pattern is in February, it started to take off, and it is still working its way up. But again, it is still below that 1-year high, and I think Mewtwo has a lot of really good representation in the XY era. Again, not to sound like I'm beating the dead horse, but with the Mega Evolution tied onto here, I don't think we've seen like our biggest and baddest Mewtwo yet from the Scarlet and Violet era. So if that ends up being some type of Mega Evolution, I do think these older cards have some opportunity. So at the worst case, you're buying a really awesome card with some age behind it, some really awesome card with some amazing art to it, and one of the biggest and the baddest names in the whole Pokemon space. Like, you can do far worse than picking this card up at $33. So that is one of the reasons why I wanted it included on here, and I think it does have a very bright future if we see some kind of excitement and momentum in the Scarlet and Violet era later on. Now, the next one right here is the Alakazam, and this one goes against what I've been saying the whole time: buy what will go up, not what has gone up, because this is one of the cards on the list, actually the only card on the list that is at a 1-year high. But what I like about it is the fact that the artwork is so just engaging. I think the artwork is absolutely amazing. It is barely above a 1-year high. The 1-year high prior was about $17.50. It's sitting at $18.36 now, so you're paying a 70-cent premium over the previous 1-year high. Fates Collide is one of the sets that I think has been grossly undervalued. I think that Roaring Skies and I think that Fates Collide, from a booster box perspective and from a singles card perspective, have been seriously overlooked for, I don't know, forever, it feels like to me. So when I look at a card like this that checks those boxes, right, it's a sub $20 card, it's a Mega Evolution, like it comes from what I think is a really undervalued set. Like, all of those things give me some excitement and give me some idea, like, hey, I could pick a couple of these up for 20 bucks and there's not a lot of risk to it. So I thought for all of those reasons, this would be a cool one to add to the list. And then you always know I end with a bit of a flyer, a card that even I'm on the fence about. And I did this one from Flashfire, this Mega Kangaskhan. So it's a secret rare. You know that I love my secret rare cards. I think those are really, really cool, and I think they just have some awesome places in all of these sets that have them. Flash Fire is like the biggest and the baddest, right there with Phantom Forces in terms of, you know, the, I don't know, just the magnitude of those sets in the entire XY era. So I know Flash Fire really is predominantly a Charizard set. So picking a card other than a Charizard from this set has a little bit of a risk, but again, you're looking at a card which is below its 1 year high. Now, these cards don't sell in a whole lot of volume, which is why you see that the graphs are really flat versus the other ones that kind of have some edges to them. But because this card doesn't sell a ton, you see these big periods where it's flattening out and then these real aggressive price movements. But again, it's a $22 card. It's a secret rare. It's from Flash Fire. Like, I don't know. I like it enough to add it onto this list. I like it enough to say that, hey, listen, it's got this mega evolution tied to it. It could have some upside to it. I don't know. As I said, I always like to end with a flyer. I'm kind of 50-50 on this one, but I love the artwork. I love the set, and that's enough for me to get excited, especially since it's below its 1 year high. So that's it, everybody. These are the cards that I've got my eye on. These are the cards that I think, hey, don't buy what will go up, or don't buy what has gone up, buy what will go up. You know, we looked at all of the cards in the last video, the ones that have already started to skyrocket. I think these have some opportunities in the future. What is going to happen? I just don't know. You know what I mean? We're going to have to see if Mega Evolutions come back into the Pokemon card game, and if they do, what place do they have? Are they going to be the big chase cards at the end of Scarlet and Violet? Are they going to be like trainer galleries where they're kind of underneath that? I have no earthly idea, but I do think it's going to be fun to watch, and I do think this is a great reason why the channel exists. We try and keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on. We try and identify opportunities before they come around, and this will be a ton of fun to see what happens. So if you made it to the end and you enjoy the content, hit that subscribe button. We have an absolute amazing community here. We would love for you to be a part of it. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, and if you have questions or comments, drop them down below. I appreciate you more than I can say. I hope you have an epic one, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.